Fair evening. Um, so my name is Mona Al-Harfaj. I think for some who are new here. So I'm part of the team who's managing the Harmony House activities. We're happy to have Sarah. Sarah is visiting us from Cambridge in the UK. Long friendship with Sarah. Sarah actually started her journey in 2009. She was in Cambridge. And then she felt the need to travel and explore. She can talk more about it later. But she took this knowledge of self-mastery and meditation in Cambodia. She was teaching English. By profession, she's an interior designer, worked in many museums in the UK. And then from Cambodia, she's back in Cambridge now. And in Cambridge, they have the meditation center, but they have a space called the Inner Space, which is in the heart of Cambridge, where they do a lot of activities to serve the community. So Sarah is very active, very, like, I see her very sincere, we say, effort maker in this journey of growth. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you for passing by and sharing your fragrance. Tomorrow she leaves to India for some medical conferences and other activities, but really very happy to have you here. Thank you.
Good evening, and very, very happy to be here. Thank you, Mona, for inviting as well. Feel like you learn a lot when you travel, and you meet people, and you learn about yourself, and you learn about culture. Atma, you can tell me if I end up speaking too fast. You can signal. I think I like this topic because it feels like it has a lot of energy in it. Like it's such a driver, progress. I remember finishing my degree and then moving to London with so much enthusiasm and the energy, but it's just which direction are we going in when we're progressing? So this opened up some area for me. I'd like to start with a quote, and this is by Amy Hedge. She's an author, and she said, "Sometimes you have to take a step back to leap forward." Sometimes you have to take a step back to leap forward. So I thought just for a couple of moments we could do that, have a couple of moments of meditation. And just to relax yourself and consciously letting go of any tension that you might be having in the body, in the shoulders, muscles on the face, to relax. And this stepping back, one method is to see the landscape as if down below, just like when you're flying. Everything is there, but it's down below and it looks very small. So we're stepping back. Everything that happened today happened down below on that amazing landscape. But for a few moments, you can have a mind holiday. Enjoy the different perspective. You are very naturally connected to a vast space, the sky. It's like stepping into another space in the mind, like another room where there is total stillness, harmony, fullness, unconditional peace, lightness. Which is already there. You're just stepping into it. I don't need to change anything or do anything, fix anything. Feeling of wholeness. And from that space, we can do the leap forward with a new energy, as if the mind is refreshed, with more clarity, with inner peace, to engage in that landscape, but with new eyes. Thank you. So one thing that comes up with meditation, and it was a question I think we were discussing yesterday, is what about motivation? What if you feel so content that you find a method that makes you so happy, so content? How will we be motivated? This is your question, I think, isn't it? So I realized it was very relevant. So maybe it's your question also. If you feel that you've got everything you need inside, you're so peaceful, you found your balance, and then what is the motivation? And so this question came to my mind, and I think to address it, to see the bigger picture of the instinct for progress, because it's such a driver at a personal level, but at a national level, society. So the aim today is to kind of explore it and then come back to that question. Like, how do we get motivated if we find ourselves to be so content? And I start with a story. This is a story of a tribe that they would hunt buffalo, and they were looking to progress. They would shoot the arrow and kill a buffalo, and they would eat it. They were not vegetarian. So they would do that, and they found a technique that wouldn't just maim one buffalo. They found a technique with shooting the arrows where two could be killed at the same time. So it's progress, half the effort, I think. But then they developed, or they realized, one idea to develop would be that they cornered the buffalo and drove them off the cliff, then all of them they could catch at the same time. But the tribe died out because they didn't have the source of nourishment. So this is like a story of progress, but what kind of progress and what kind of intelligence? Yeah, it's like finding a method and the excitement that comes with it as well. But then what are we checking the consequence? And it kind of can be mirrored in many ways. So just a simple example of weaponry, you went from like gunpowder, and then it gets developed, and we go from the firecracker to the cannon, and we then create the bigger atom bomb. So is that too much progress? It's like there's this curiosity, but we have to be careful, like what is the consequence in a way. And I think it becomes interesting, at least for me, when I think of the history of progress in terms of the belief system that we are going to be progressing. And I think science gives us that feeling because gadgets are getting better. But they say it may date to Darwinian thinking, because it's a theory of evolution, and that we're moving towards greater everything, including awareness and strength. And I'll just read a short example. Sidney Pollard in 1968, he's an economic and social historian. He said, a belief in progress implies the assumption that a pattern of change exists in the history of mankind, and that this pattern is known. It consists of irreversible change in one general direction only, and this direction is towards improvement. Quite interesting that as if assume that we are progressing, that it's a general direction and one direction, and it's going up. And it's a kind of evolutionary thinking that we as if go with. And I think its technology is also part because it's measurable, we can see it. But it's interesting that in the past, progress was more about morality. And that was seen to be like a higher thing, the more moral, high values. And so we don't see that now in the same way. It's like a different driver is there. So the different beliefs. And then in this kind of research, I came across a statement or a theory called the progress trap. And I don't know if there's something you've heard of, but it's easy to understand. A similar thing is the failure of success. That could be a personal level. But the progress trap is when we invent things that we can't manage anymore. We kind of see it with the Industrial Revolution. In a sense, we've created the pollution affecting the planet. But the issue with the trap is no political party has the will to take it on in the need that is, required, because we've invested in the outcome. We're basing our quality of life on the effects of it, even though it's very clear. So they call it progress trap. And the GDP, for example, is like incentivizing unsustainable practices itself. It's amazing when you step back, like the thinking of progress. It's so strange in a way. And so the short-term thinking is what we see. Certainly, we see it in the UK in terms of the changing political parties every few years, because they fear the loss of the quality of life and status if they were to rock the boat. So then you don't see accountability, and which we know all of this, and it's very clearly seen in the way the climate is. And today they were saying we've gone past the 1.5, it's 1.52, the tipping point, and then they say, yeah, but we can change it. But it's like we need to challenge this concept of progress in a very fundamental way. Yeah, it sort of has its own built-in, looks like that mechanism. I found this quite interesting. It's Fyodor Dostoevsky. He's a Russian novelist. He says success can be built on false assumptions and still be successful. The way I understood that, it looks like success, but the seed is something unstable in a way, false. But it will, in this case, we understand it has consequences in a way. So we have to maybe question we need to know really what is the truth in order to understand what is true progress. And my own experience when we're talking about working in design, that was my background, and my uncle was working as an architect, and he'd ask me, how's it going with your career? And I said, yeah, it's like 3.5 years now, 4 years. And he said, oh, that's building nicely or something. And I remember thinking I couldn't really understand, but I felt so weird about what he'd said. A career, it's like your career, and I was thinking, where am I careering? That's what I thought. It's like the building, and it's like as if building something I didn't know what I had created, really. I loved actually the focus of any career. It gives you some aspiration, you're building skills, but something inside felt a little bit empty. Like, what is the foundation? And I couldn't answer that to myself, and I felt uncomfortable that he was sort of seeing it as progress. So it's interesting to acknowledge in ourselves when we do have that feeling. I didn't know what to do about it. Yes, in his eyes, and he saw me, and I'd been doing this 3 to 4 years, and he said, "Oh, that's building nicely and encouraging. It's nice playing the uncle part," but it felt a little awkward in a way. Like, where am I careering? Careering is like you can relate. Yeah. It's like you're driving, but it's not necessarily you're in control of the wheel. So it's interesting that the idea of progress is can be also generational ideas and cultural. And when I was in Southeast Asia, Borneo, I visited at one point, and the deforestation is huge in some of these countries. And the perception is different. So they were clearing the rainforest, which is so beautiful, and putting palm oil plantations. And actually the perception locally, this is progress. And also for them, it was neat. They liked the palm oil. They liked it because it looked organized, whereas the forest is not. And it was quite interesting, you know, coming from a different culture. So the idea of progress, it changes, right? You probably can see the shift in generations and culture. So another example, you know, your neighbor might think progress is to concrete the whole front yard. At least in the UK, it might be done. The next person thinks progress is to put all the grass back, and that's for them, you know, it goes in circles. What is like the progress that really, just like really true? I don't know if you have any thoughts, what would be true progress, or, you know, if we want to align with something deeper. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, the happiness, isn't it? The quality of life, happiness, and congruency, that you feel you can be who you are and be congruent within a high way. Yeah. It's like they have this research which shows it's the non-material factors that often help with the quality of life, and good relationships, sense of purpose. That's a huge like need. We need purpose, and that's why it's quite connected with progress. It's like if we don't have it, it's quite, we feel lost. Yeah. So that's another, and in the mental, physical health, sense of belonging, it's a really big one. We feel the need to belong. Viktor Frankl had this quote, "Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose." So he'd gone through, you know, he was in concentration camp, and but it's amazing. It's not the circumstances, but lack of meaning that was something for him.
The survival one doesn't have me.
Yeah, had a vision for himself. The hope is the huge power that in same stories in Cambodia as well. I think the awakening, it helps when you're in an environment that shows you what human nature can do. And Cambodia has these stories of the past, and similar thing, like it was when there's some a glimmer of hope, it has a huge power. It was very fascinating. So Simon Sinek had something interesting on this. It's like a motivational speaker. He said, "It's better to go slowly in the right direction than go speeding off in the wrong direction." I wish someone had told me that when I was in my 21, speeding off. It's like where the spiritual model comes in. And the idea that with the stepping back before we leap forward, the stepping back can encompass an understanding of our relationship with the world, that in a way our deep needs can get met through self-realization and self-understanding, that we are guests and visitors in this world, and what's drawn is a small stage. It's like all the world is a stage. Shakespeare would say it, and it's quite interesting to experiment with that mindset. It kind of neutralizes big and challenging emotions if you can just certain acceptance comes if we see it as a stage. And so that allows you to take a little step back, but also from your own role and your own part. It definitely, we want to play the part well, but first to give oneself permission to be internally independent in your feelings. And this is where the bigger picture helps. Seeing life as a play, but you also have a space you can go to internally that is not, your feelings are not dependent on what's going on. This complete freedom, it's quite a thing for 1 minute. And so we meet the university students in Cambridge and we shared some ideas, and they really like it because they have to be motivated fully. They have these short 8-week terms in Cambridge and it's super pressured. But when they bring the energy of play to what they're doing, they can, like, you play to win, but you don't take it so seriously. I think that mindset is sort of essential in a way. Otherwise, everyone is telling each other, I'm stressed, yes, me too. And then it's like, it becomes a reinforced that to get things done, you need stress to do it. Does that make sense? So you know, if everyone here, is anyone here like totally for the first time? You've all, so everyone has had some meditation background. And is this your experience too? That it's like you can, once you step back, then you can leap forward. But the leaping forward is with more joy, I think. You can actually play the game to win. And so this, for me, becomes the difference is what is the seed of the motivation, and it's still going on in me. It's like a constant inner improvement. Is it from the seed of insecurity or the seed of security? So the motivation from maybe we explore first security. It's when you already feel full. In a way, there's something like a baseline contentment that is something you have already, and in that lightness, there's nothing is too serious, and then your enthusiasm is healthy and sustainable. It's like you're not kind of pushing yourself to achieve something with a negative seed, but you're actually doing it with when it's a game, it's not serious, but you really go for it. Tomorrow we'll find out if anyone's. And then the fruit is healthy because you're reinforcing you can do it with a lighter energy. So it's not you're reinforcing, I had to push myself. It's also more selfless. It's not about me so much. It becomes more like the team spirit. And so therefore more inclusive. So that seed of security will kind of give more of that energy. So in contrast, if we're motivated by fear or emptiness, we're kind of propelled into it. All my happiness is dependent on it happening the way I want it to, and my peace is dependent on it too. And sense of security is dependent because my baseline is I feel not safe somehow, or then it's intense and it's pushing, it's defensive, it's more like about my needs. And I think then we don't know when to stop. And it has a little addictive nature. And we can feel guilty to relax. It's an amazing thing, isn't it? It's a Western thing or universal in cities. To just stop. It's like as if, no, what should I be doing? And the end justifies the means. So it doesn't necessarily, it's not going to promote like a balance. And if you do get what appears to be success, it reinforces you needed all of that to do it. So then you have to, you think, oh, I need to do that more. So it could be anything, and it could be like even to be more educated. We think we need it, and more wealthy or famous or beautiful. They're all like, in a way, motivators. But what seed is it coming from? It's like a nice, helpful reference point in a way. And yeah, so like taking examples, for me, definitely the career path was about building something so I felt worthy. So there was self-respect. It was totally built around the job. I could totally see it myself. And so that was like a seed of insecurity. And it's like a negative premise. Unless and until I get to this position, then I won't feel worthy of respect, in a sense. I put it on myself, I think, mainly. It wasn't coming from my immediate family, but it's like a pressure. And it can come in relationships, like seeking approval constantly from others. And then you get trapped in their opinions of you. So it's a negative premise. And then, yeah, property, wealth, all those things. Material things. Yeah. So no problem. It seems to be the default, right? I didn't question it. It seems it's just to know and to see. And then we're questioning what is progress all the time. And it's like claiming back what is important, I think. And to give an example, I really like this kind of mind experiment. If someone gives a diamond to you, it's like a diamond is super beautiful. I love to look at it, like reflecting the light. If someone gives it to you for like 10 seconds, you'd be enjoying that for 10 seconds, and then you give it back and you pass it around the room or something. But if they say, oh, I'm going on a trip, can you look after this for 2 weeks? That's also fine. You're pretty clear about it because you can enjoy it. You might show someone, you give it back. But if it's 2 years, maybe a slight change. It's like you might forget who gave it to you, but they knock on your door one day. But still, you pretty much know it's not yours. But if it's 50 years, that's certainly, I can see a shift for me. But it's still temporary, actually, even though it's 50 years, 70 years. It's like, but that is kind of like our story, isn't it? That everything is entrusted to us. It might be 5 years, it might be 70 years, but even our own, everything we're associated with, including the body, is like a finite thing, and it's entrusted. If we stay connected to that, then we end up with more appreciation. There's like a few moments we enjoy, these moments we can enjoy. So I think motivation, it kind of awakens something beyond the temporary. Just get that. I think clarity, that's what we want to try and tune back to. What is the truth? And then we will have true progress. Has anyone heard of something called a GPI? You can share what it is?
It's this new I don't know very well, but that you just type something you want to search and they make complete all the statement or how to say, they make you the research and they give you all the things done, the whole work done.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there's a
So
different
I
GPI.
say because
Oh, that's GPT.
yeah.
That's different. Oh, this may be a different one, but that sounds good. GPI, in this case, genuine progress indicator, a different one. Too many abbreviations. And I thought that was interesting. Like, what is a genuine progress indicator? And it's, I think, connected with the environment. It's well-being. Yeah, exactly. Holistic well-being. Attempt to measure whether the environment impact social costs of the economic production are having positive or negative effects on health and well-being. It's like another way to assess things. But it's including our attitude to the world of like more trusteeship, like the diamond, like we're trustees and we know it's temporary, but you probably take even more care with that attitude. And so in the same way, we're trustees of the planet, and that attitude is like very healthy and like a holistic. And it's obviously going to start with the self, isn't it? That holistic respect, starting with the mind, and then it's the body, then it's other people and the environment. That's like genuine, like progress is genuine. It feels for me that's helping everyone. It's more joined up. And it's not going to be short term. We're going to be more thinking of the whole picture. And we haven't deceived ourselves as well. It's seeing the big picture. So we know the opposite already in a way. It's like the short term self-gratification. And in a way we can personify it as ego. The analogy of a cancer cell in the body is quite interesting because it's when a cell, the cancer cell only thinks of itself, and that it will just be taking the resources, which is what creates the illness. It's like not thinking of the whole system. Therefore, the patient, if it's out of control, will die. So in the same way, the ego is like that. It's like just thinks of itself. It can't see the big picture. It doesn't want to. And so we don't, this philosophy, we think ego is like false, the false I. You don't need that. We. Okay, you can tell us more. Yeah. So that interesting that it's kind of happening at that level, but it's something also in a level in a way. So you want to add anything? Or?
The exhibition was it's called in medicine engulfment. Each of the nutrients, the good thing, and come out as a monastery or something bigger than the banquet hall. Yeah, this is G. It's presenting council. Yeah.
You can maybe repeat quickly for this.
Yeah, for ego, you pointed out at the ego as something eating up the good thing is so good and bad. Same as cancer cell. Cancer cell was in the beginning a normal cell, which became like a monster eating up the good cells. So it's called engulfment. It's engulf the good thing and the nutrients. It feed on good things to be a bad thing. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So nice. We have this we can be the master. We just need to see what's going on. And for me, it was just interesting to question what assumed ideas from the way we're brought up, just to kind of question, is this definitely real progress? Because I think it just comes up when we practice meditation, and we might be having slightly different priorities, and we have to work. We're challenged by our own mind, but also in those around. So it's good just to feel the orientation, and we see it obviously in what's happening, but also we need to be motivated in what is true, and that has importance. I think like this big picture, we see this big eye, which is coming from, it's like already stepped back. It's a bit like this idea that, we're all in this room, and we're here for 1 hour or hour and a half, but we are visiting, and it's really nice to be in another space. But we don't own the things here. So it's a very natural relationship. We can use all the things. We can be trustees, but I don't own this chair, and then I have a journey. And so in the same way, that kind of feeling of appreciation that comes, we're all guests and we appreciate. And that's why we love going on holiday. I think the newness and enthusiasm. So keeping that mindset, we're a bit more aligned with the way things are, the trusteeship, custodian of everything. And the practical side is the idea that we can experience like the freedom and perfection internally now. We don't have to wait for things to change. Here it's drawn as a stage. The physical world is like a grand play. And we're so programmed to think we need to change something here for happiness, in a way. I just need to change. I just need this person to be different, or change my job or partner or whatever. And I was totally in that mindset. And it's only when I did change everything, and it was great for about 2 months, and then I realized the kind of the restless mind came back. So I thought I'd solved it, but then I realized it's the way of thinking that I needed to change, programming, and that we can do that. And the contentment unconditional upon what's happening outside is the feeling of real progress. I think this seeing it as a world, a stage, then you're experiencing the prize already, in a way. Sometimes it's said the aim is like there's a kind of perfection which will reflect outside too, but the method is perfection. It's not that I work on something imperfect, I get something perfect. We have to experience it right now, because there are a lot of issues to deal with. But if I have like stress and things, it's like I have 2 problems. I have the thing and I have my own mind. So then it's at least worth playing with what it is that which philosophy helps me to come with my best self, with my highest strength. And I think it creates a different atmosphere, because you're also seeing others more with that. When we realize our own true nature, which baseline is peaceful, positive. We're kind of not taught that. We taught that like this kind of mediocre, how are you, not bad kind of thing we get in culture in the UK. Is a bit like accepting a low level kind of insecurity and just patching up, but actually really going for something. The goal can be very high quality of life. It's like Prashant, who in Cambridge, his medical background, he gave a talk once. He said, first sign of ill health is losing your sense of humor. I thought that was really good. It's like a different orientation, that happiness, lightness, let that be the kind of the measurer, and and then see what it is I can do to help sustain it. I think. Yeah. And I think, yeah. You're not too serious. Though. Yeah. Oh, I think that when we see our own reactions from past, the programming, it's also, in a way, we have our own entertainment. It's like our own childishness, can really, I see myself like really like a child sometimes, like, from insecurity, but it's like having this option to bring the thought and seeing a starting position, even if the last minute I was caught in something small, some reaction from someone else, or cyclical thinking, I can choose in one moment just to take another perspective and see from that independent view, third person maybe, that is not caught in the slavery of trying to get something here, progress in this theater, because the ego in us is like an addict in a way. It's like constantly in the mentality of asking and empty, that kind of restlessness. But we have this option to take a thought from a higher consciousness that is already feeling full, and just interesting to play with it, that motivation. So maybe the last area, it's like the refinement is really interesting, because sometimes we might work with spiritual ideas, and just the proximity to these ideas, you might feel it's progress, and it is to some extent, but unless we're really applying it in our everyday life, then it could become like we become like philosophers and happy to talk about it, but don't know how much I'm really using it, feeling it. And so just to not mistake having ideas in proximity to spiritual ideas as progress as well. Take the checking and knowing that the false identity in me can adapt, that you sort of become, people say, oh, you're so peaceful, and you say, yes, I do meditation now, and but then another identity comes, I'm so, I'm spiritual, and it's like another little side street that's can come, and that the ego has its own idea of progress. He also wants to attend seminar. He also wants to give a talk about it, but it's like a little checking kind of thing. And like next to proximities, next to. So it's like being next, like having ideas. You might have the literature at your fingertips and you're reading it, but it doesn't, when we apply it, then it belongs to you, I think. And this progress, I started to write to-do lists and to-be lists just to remind myself, because I think progress is the actions, but it's because it's invisible. That's the issue. We can, if someone sees you achieving something externally, they see it and you feel it's validation, but no one sees what's going on in the mind. That's the big challenge, I think. So yeah, you more dopamine. Yeah. I think it's an honest checking, but what's interesting? The other side of this is you might be meditating and you see progress, but then after a while you might not see it so much. And you might think after a while something happens and you get angry. And you think, oh, what I've been doing this for 5 months, 10 months, 10 years, and I got angry. But just to observe, like in the past, maybe you would get angry like 3 times a week in situations would be coming, and there would be that either anger or disheartenment feeling. But maybe now it's like once every 2 months. And that intelligent deception inside wants to merge your inner progress, but to really like some method to be objective and just to congratulate yourself for that, because it's amazing. If before we would get angry twice, 3 times a week, and then now it might pop up, but see the change and really appreciating that for the self. So I think that's where having some method to kind of be objective and check, because everything is subtle and invisible when it's to do with your mind. And appreciate that. So this, I guess what we're saying is real progress is to be in your own clarity, your own truth. You'd say, we call it soul consciousness. So that's the progress is, and it's not something that you can measure outside, but your own quality of life, your own peace of mind, and what you're bringing. It's a measure that we could say it's progress. And so yeah, everything continues, the whole journey, but it's just checking that which is the instinct in charge. Is it from the seed, security or insecurity? Yeah, what is the seed really? So,
Foundation.
that's the foundation. Yeah. So yeah, another way of saying love or fear. Yeah. And love requires security in a way, because if we feel secure, we can love. Because sometimes love can be like, I want to love, but then it could be like, it can be requiring checking. But true love, absolutely. Yeah, that is a very pure motivator. Yeah. So Mike.
Just on what you were sharing about to-do list and to-be list. So I have a friend who retired after many years. He said people, and he's like in this also journey of awakening. He said people are telling me, because he was like a big CEO, what are you doing? You know, like how you're spending your day, and after all this, you know, huh? Yes. And he said, I'm busy in the being. I thought that was nice. Like I'm busy with myself. So, yeah. But as you said, people judge you when you're not doing a lot, or what have you progressed all these years. Interesting to see it's all inside.
It's a good answer, isn't it? Busy and being. Good to remember that. It's true. Do you have any questions? Because you had this question yesterday, and then I realized.
I think it's clearer now. Yesterday I had a question with when you're so content and you don't feel like doing anything that goes for the ego. How do you keep yourself motivated to live and do everything in this world? And I got the answer today. My brain was telling me it's all about the progress, but it is what kind of progress I was looking at. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. The thoughts, questions, ideas. Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, would be great. Oh, yes. Muna was welcoming everyone on Zoom. Hello, and if you have any questions or comments or sharings, would be great to hear. It's interesting when talking about lockdown, and we met some. It was on Zoom actually. They were doing a course, and they were, I think, had a break from work. They were getting paid to stay at home. So there weren't those things to do. But they said they still felt busy, and it didn't make any sense. So I could see it myself as well. And it's interesting how the drive, and it's like the pattern is there, but then something small becomes big. So it's like, I can see it. It's very easy to say something outside needs to change, but it's very, with this situation, it's the programming that was creating the restless, busy feeling. Not to say that some of us are not extremely, have many things to do, but just to play with a mind that can come from fullness. It just takes like an option to play with it for 1 minute, taking the mind, stepping back before we leap forward. It can be really profound because you're kind of answering a deep need for your true peace. It's like not just peace, like lack of noise, but it's like a profound silence inside that you really know you don't need anything. Even if we're talking about this model, it's like even for your existence, there's there's such a freedom, and it's a profound stepping back. But then you go with a really deep joy, and that, I think, that's what we want to have, because we can sustain that, the joy of the true self, to play the part, but also the humor and the wisdom to watch, because sometimes we play the part and things totally break or something happens, and stepping back is saver in that situation. Yeah. Yeah. To practice and to experiment for a few moments with stepping back and questioning what is true progress. So again, make sure you feel comfortable, feeling free to move or adjust. And it's so nice, this permission to step back, observe this scene right now. And also this extraordinary option to come above, come behind this drama of life. We are playing many roles, each with its own idea of progress. But just like in any game, progress is about the game. We have a parallel effort to see it as a game. And behind the stage, above, there is already true silence. It's like stepping into a room that is already there, where you take off all the roles, and this invisible presence, the actor behind experiences, the true self. Not need to change anything or be anything. It is already whole, already complete. not completed by anything of the stage, completely independent. That presence, a living light in a realm of light all around. This is timeless. Down below, the stage is time bound. This space is timeless. Beyond change. The behind can never lose anything. On the stage cannot own anything. This fullness, unconditional peace, unconditional love, regard for others, not dependent on the performance. A quiet and deep respect. All the different facets of these feelings. They run so deep, this invisible actor. And from here, the true security, it is with joy and lightness to come onto this stage, into this scene, and to have the role temporarily, to play the part. From that space, the wisdom not to get lost on the stage and deceived by the play. The option to contemplate this anytime. Make that perspective strong. Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy your experiments. And, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Nice. So thank you all for coming, sharing your lights here with us. And I just want to remind everyone that every Saturday we have English seminar with Arabic translation. I want to thank Khalid also, who's been translating behind the scenes. And yeah, every Tuesday we have the Arabic meditation and also some sharings.